Here we go. The G.W.O.A.T versus Ivana. Who do I think is going to win? We're going to start with some negatives first, and then I'll get into the positives. We're going to do this backwards to see who's really going to stay to the end. Now, some negatives I want to say. Shields is not the G.W.O.A.T by no means. There's two women that are the G.W.O.A.T. One is Layla Ali. Layla. Sexy. The other one is Lucia Riker. In my opinion, Lucia Riker is the greatest woman to fight, period. Whether it be boxing, kickboxing, and if May would have been around, she would have dominated that. Lucia Riker is the true G.W.O.A.T of fighting. There's no other woman that compares to her. You could watch her, technically the best one to ever do it. If I ever made it up to the top, if I could ever stay healthy and not keep getting injured with dumb injuries that should never happen, I would want her on my side. I would put her in my corner. She would be my first pick for my coach because she was that good technically of a fighter that I would want her in my corner. Before Freddie Roach, before Teddy Atlas, before Gert McGirt, before any of them, I would want her in my corner. Hands down. There's nobody out there better than her. Now, with that being said, Shields mentioned in her pre-fight interview, last one I believe is going to be, that she is about to accomplish something that Lomachenko holds the record for, but she's going to do it faster. He did it in 12 fights, 3 division champion. She's going to do it in 9. Now, that is true if she wins, and I believe she will win. However, when have we ever heard of a fighter getting praised for winning titles by dropping weight? Let me say that again. There's a huge difference when you're the little man coming up. When you're already the big one fighting smaller people, to me, it just kind of loses its luster. In other words, Shields, first title, super middleweight. Next title, middleweight. This title, welterweight. You see, there's a problem with this. You don't win titles going backwards. You don't get the same praise. You shouldn't get the same praise if you do, because you're supposed to win. You're the bigger fighter. Now, you can run into the possibility where you drop too much weight and you weight drain yourself, but I don't think she's going to have that problem. Here's the thing. I cannot, if she wins, or I should say, if and when she wins, I cannot put her up there and let her hold that title over Lomachenko because she dropped weight to do it. She did not increase weight. She did not fight bigger opponents. She's fighting smaller opponents. It's not the same. On top of that, we all know right now the women's boxing division is not that competitive. Not when you compare it to the male counterpart. So when the talent pool is smaller, you can't really compare it to a place of where talent pool is higher. Now, however that I said that, I will also state this. When you start getting around the 130s and below in boxing, you're starting to not have a lot of competition there either, because the average man is 180 pounds. A small man is about 145 pounds. So if a small man is 145 pounds, that just tells you how small these guys are in these lower divisions. There's not a lot of people that are that small. So in men boxing or male boxing, when you get to them lighter divisions, there's not as much talent pool either, because men just don't come that small. A lot of them are the size of men when they're in elementary school as kids. You're not going to find a lot of men that small that can stay at that weight naturally. You're just not. Normally that's for guys who are just short and never got tall, or you'd have to be extremely malnourished, because I'm telling you, 120, we go down 108 pounds, that's elementary school weight. So arguments can be made when you have somebody like Manny Pacquiao who went up 8 divisions. how competitive were his first few divisions? That's a different debate, and I'm not here to talk about Manny Pacquiao. I'm here to talk about Shields and why I don't think that if she does win, I should say when she wins this next title, it's not comparable to what Lomachenko has done, Bud Crawford has done, Canelo has done, and etc. for current fighters. It's not the same because they went up, not down. Now, with that being said, I must commend Shields again because she's still talking about it. She's talking about she wants to fight Nunes in an octagon. She wants to do MMA against Nunes to prove that she is the GOAT. I will state this. If Shields goes over to MMA and beats Nunes, I don't care if it's convincingly, she wins on points, or if she just lays on top of her, which I hate watching in UFC. It doesn't matter how she wins. If she wins in the octagon, Shields now becomes my number one pound for pound. And I'm going to tell you why. This is what frustrates me about a lot of professional boxers. It frustrates me to knowing that they'll invite UFC fighters who stand no chance in a boxing ring to come into boxing. Oh yeah, I'll box him. Nah, I ain't gonna get in. That sounds like a pussy. You sound like a fucking pussy if you're not gonna get in an octagon, if you will only fight somebody in a boxing ring. Because let me tell you this. If somebody catches you out of the boxing ring at a bar and you don't have your security around you, they're not gonna box with you. 90% of street fights end up on the ground. Me personally, in a street fight, when I'm not injured and I'm full health and I'm able to deadlift 600 plus pounds with ease, bench over 450 pounds with ease, even though I can box, if I don't knock you down in the first 1 or 2 punches, you're going for a ride. Because although I could probably dance around whoever I'm going to fight, 9 times out of 10, they don't have no real experience. Why would I risk taking damage when I can just scoop you, boop, put you on your butt, hold you down with one hand. Now you feel a fucking mountain on top. You feel Thor's hammer drop down on you, and I'm going to beat you with the free hand while you sit there like a little kid and can't move. I'm going to use my natural strength, my abilities, my God-given talent, so to say, to beat you. That's what MMA is. MMA lets people use their natural abilities. They talk about AJ's a bodybuilder, AJ's strong. Well, here's the thing with boxing. Strength is good in the fact that it can somewhat increase your punching power. It can definitely make you hit harder as long as you know what you're doing. So in other words, what I mean by that is, if you have a guy who's, say, 145 pounds and he maintains 145, but you increase his strength, he's going to hit harder. It won't be night and day because strength and punching, they do go together, but it's not as big of a difference as you would think it would be. It's more of how your body's strung up, your tendon strength, how fast you can fire off, how good you are at shifting your body weight, how precise of where you... There's a lot of things that go into a punch that really, I would say, are probably better than strength. So what I mean by that is, when you take a guy who, in a real fight, can't punch, but he's strong as shit, and if he can grit you, he can put you on the ground, and you're too strong to get up, he's going to beat you up. If you take a guy who's not strong, but is a technical genius by being able to put some weird move on you and break your arm, well, now you got a broken arm and he's going to beat you because you only got one hand. Or he's going to wrap you up again and break the other arm, break your legs till you can't do anything. If you've got a guy who's amazing at wrestling who can just pick you up and slam you like he's a gorilla, he's going to do that. If you've got a guy who's not strong, can't punch, but he knows how to throw kicks, if you can't stop a kick, he could kick your head off. That is true fighting in a sense. It's all true fighting. But to truly see who the best is, a boxer needs to go to the octagon. Not an MMA fighter going to boxing because they stand little to no chance. Whereas a boxer has every chance in the world to win in the octagon. He's got a lot of things going for him. When you decrease the glove sizes, your hands are going to be faster, you're going to hit harder, and etc. Now, most boxers of this generation start as kids. At the very least, within their teenage years, they're already in the gym training. They're already getting ready to fight. It's very rare you'll find a boxer who's successful who starts in their 20s. They've already done some type of contact. However, in MMA, guys of this generation, now I know younger kids are getting into MMA and wrestling early now, so the next generation of fighters will see like boxers where they started from when they were young. But still, for the most part, today's current fighters and back have not been fighting as long as boxers, first off and foremost. So there's a huge lack of experience for MMA fighters when they're fighting guys who, even on the low end, have at least 30 to 40 amateur fights already before they ever go pro. So there's a big difference in that. So when they step over to boxing, it's different and it shows. Like, take, for example, Conor McGregor. For the Khabib fight, don't count that Conor. That Conor was lazy, got $100 million from Floyd, didn't do nothing, looked like crap, and went in there half-trained, I believe. But if you take the Conor up to Floyd Mayweather and back, what was he doing in MMA? He touched them, they break. He touches them, they break. When he got into boxing, he caught Mayweather with a really good uppercut early in the first or second round, and it moved Mayweather's head back a little bit. And then every other punch he hit Mayweather with, it did zero damage, to the point where Mayweather was smiling and walking through him. There was times when Conor was jabbing and Mayweather was coming so far forward that they were just barely touching his nose, because he knew the first time he felt the real power from Conor that Conor couldn't hurt him. There's nothing Conor had that could stop him. And that's the difference in the punching power. Somebody who's been punching all their lives, not only punching all their lives, but avoiding being hit by punches and feeling punches, is going to be a lot more tolerant to punches than somebody who hasn't been. And it showed the difference in power, because Mayweather's been rocked before. So he's not immune to being rocked. He doesn't have, say, a granite chin. Truth be told, Zab Judah put him on the ground because his glove touch. And although his chin is resistant by him being rocked, like Shane Mosley did in the second round when they fought, shows that it's not granite. Somebody with a granite jaw doesn't get stunned, doesn't get rocked. They just keep coming, and you're like, yo, you could beat this dude with a bat and they won't stop. So Mayweather's chin has been checked before. He survived, but he's been hurt. And Conor, supposedly this devastating knockout artist, had zero punching power against Mayweather in the boxing ring. Mayweather didn't have one mark to his face, which tells you that the power that Mayweather is used to being hit by, and the same thing that Polly was saying. Polly was saying he has good power, but he doesn't have oh my God power. That's the point. In MMA, he might have oh my God punching power, but when he came over to boxing, he was average at best. Maybe not even average. And I'm just judging that off of how a 40-year-old Mayweather was just walking through the punches without any care. So with that being said, you're taking guys and limiting them to just punching who aren't used to being limited to punching. The boxer going into MMA, he's not being limited. He's still allowed to punch, but now not only can he punch, but when he's throwing hooks, he can just bring that fist all the way to the shoulder and hit him with elbows. He's actually getting more of a fighting arsenal. So you've got one guy who's increasing his arsenal versus another person who's decreasing their arsenal. It's not fair. And that's why I really like Shields talking about her going into MMA, because that's what a real fighter should do. A real fighter should be confident enough in their skills to know that it don't matter if we're in a boxing ring or an octagon or at the bar. I'm going to beat you, and there's nothing you can do. And I feel like a lot of these boxers are scared of these MMA fighters, and it reflects on the fact that they don't want to fight them. And I love boxing. So don't think this is a knock on boxing, because I don't even watch MMA. But it's clear as day when you hear boxers all the time talking about, I'll fight this person in the ring, I'll fight this person in the ring. Nah, I ain't going to do it in the octagon. It's clear as day that there's a fear. Because if there wasn't, they wouldn't mind going over there as long as the money stayed in their pocket. Now, with that being said, if Shield does do it, I don't believe it should be an event hosted by the UFC unless she gets half the proceeds. Then the UFC can give Nunes the penny she's used to getting, and Shields can still get paid. That's the biggest issue. UFC fighters don't get paid. They don't, not compared to boxers. They get pennies. So as long as Shields can get what she's used to being paid and not have to sign to the UFC and be held in a, I'm not going to say, but in a bad contract, then by all means, do it. And if she does it and wins, she will be my pound for pound. Without a doubt, she has proven herself the best fighter because she did something that no other boxer has done before her. A prime boxer going into MMA and winning. Somebody that has a world title, somebody that's at the top of their class in boxing, going over there and winning, hands down, she would be the greatest woman boxer, not just boxer, but fighter ever. And as much as I love Lucia Riker, and as much as I believe Lucia Riker would beat Shields, I have to tilt the scale to Shields, as long as Shields can continue to be undefeated in her career. So, another thing, Shields touched on how Ivana was trying to call her a thug and this and that and all these other things. And what wasn't released by the media, which I didn't know, that after Ivana's coach got punched, put into the hospital, Shields was on the phone calling all the time. And she even mentioned that she talked to the coach to make sure he was all right. So that's commendable. It's commendable. Now, as far as Shields being a thug, I don't believe she's a thug. Do I believe she's got a mouth? Do I believe she's cocky? Do I believe she's got a big head? Hell yeah. But most fighters are that way. By nature, most fighters are that way. You've got to have some type of arrogance about you to even want to get into fighting, to even like fighting. You've got to have a lot of confidence in yourself, because there's nothing more dangerous than having somebody in front of you that's coming at you to kill you, and you enjoy that. So the way her attitude is and the way that she acts doesn't rub me the wrong way. The only thing that rubs me the wrong way about her is her calling herself the GOAT. You're not. When you're the greatest, you don't have to keep saying it about yourself. Everybody around you will say it. Every media outlet will call you the greatest. Every person you run into will tell you you're the greatest. You don't have to say it. See, when you're saying it, you're trying to make people believe it. And most of all, it sounds like she's trying to make herself believe it, because she's not there yet. Only 9 fights coming up. That's not enough time. When you've got females who have had way more fights, you can still lose when you're on your way to 20, 30 fights. Normally, boxers don't go much more than 30, 40 fights, but let's just say 30 fights. She could lose from now to her 30th fight, and she could lose badly. There could be another Shields come up. That's the next best thing, and now she's a little bit older, has to prove herself the best by beating this newest talent coming up, because that's what happens all the time. You are the best until the 2.0 version of you comes out, and the only way that you can really be the best is to beat that version and remain dominant like Klitschko was. Now, that's another thing I wanted to bring up that I forgot to bring up earlier. All these different divisional champions, like Manny Pacquiao being an 8 division champion, Floyd Mayweather being a 5-time division champion, it doesn't mean a lot to me. Because here's the thing. Guys like Klitschko, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, they can't do that. It's impossible. Why? Because they were born too big. So to state that somebody like Manny Pacquiao, and you gotta understand that I'm making this a wide statement. I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder is better than Manny Pacquiao. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, when I use this example, just stating the fact that just because Manny Pacquiao won 8 divisions or a title in 8 different weight classes doesn't mean he's better than Deontay Wilder. Doesn't mean he's greater than Tyson Fury. Doesn't mean he's greater than Anthony Joshua. They can't go up. There's no way for them to go. And they're so big that if they were to, well, maybe not Wilder so big. Well, even at that, because he's so tall, they can only go down so much before they can't even naturally go down anymore. So when you see a multiple weight class champion, Yes, that's good because they're fighting other champions. Although I've had the debate about there's always 4 champions at any given time, which champions have they beat? Were they undisputed? Were they unified? Or unified in each division? If not, did they pick off the weakest to get that title? Did they move up after they won that title? There's a lot of things that go into that. So I can't say somebody like Manny Pacquiao is greater than somebody like Klitschko, who had 18 title defenses before he lost to Tyson Fury, lasted into his 40s, and was just so dominant in heavyweight that he made every fight look boring because his skill level was so much higher than everybody he was fighting. How can you say that a smaller guy is greater than somebody like that who just completely dominated all the competition, especially a heavyweight where one punch could end it? The bigger you get, the more deadlier fights become because the easier it is for somebody to take X fighter out. So I like the fact that she will have 3 divisions, but I don't count that a lot. And especially with her going down in weight, I don't really, you can't say she did something faster and better than Lomachenko because she didn't go up to do it. She went down to do it. So with that being said, again, to recap, I like the fact that she's willing to go over to MMA. No other boxer is willing to do that, which shows that she really believes what she's saying. If she does that, I will agree. She is probably the best female boxer legacy-wise, because that's something that not even an MMA fighter has done. There's been no world champion from MMA to come over and win a boxing world title. So you see what I'm saying? Like, she will do something that nobody has done in either sport. And I don't even know if a world title kickboxer's ever come over to boxing. She'll do something that nobody's ever done and be the first to do it, which will live on forever. So if she can do that, then there's an argument to be had that she might be the greatest female fighter ever. Now, how do I see this fight going with Ivana? As long as Shields makes weight and she doesn't look too depleted making that weight, then I think she's going to outbox Ivana. Shields or Claressa, she doesn't have a lot of punching power. She has enough to hurt girls and keep them off of them and not to want to get in there and trade with her, but she's not a devastating knockout artist. I believe, off the top of my head, she's only had 2 knockouts. Let's check, just real fast. Give me one second. I just want to verify before I end this video. Should have looked up her boxing rec earlier, but I didn't. So yeah, 9 fights, 2 knockouts. So she's not a hard hitter. Now, will she be a harder hitter at a lower division? Possibly. Possibly. But she's no knockout artist. So we're going to have to see. I think she can outbox Ivana, but you never know in boxing what could happen. Somebody could have a bad night. Somebody could have a good night, and it is what it is. Boxing is the only sport where if you show up having a bad night, there's no taking it back. There's nobody else you can blame but yourself because you're the only one in there. There's no team to pick you up. So, again, Shields is starting to grow on me. I don't think she's a thug. I think she does have a cocky attitude, which I don't mind as long as you can back it. Again, negatives, I don't think that she did something faster than Lomachenko, even if she does it, because, I mean, it's not the same going down as it is coming up. It's not. So they're not comparable. With that being said, I have Shields winning by outboxing Ivana. It is possible she can knock it out, being that she's coming down 2 divisions. It's just not as likely. And size-wise, they look to be about the same height. Ivana might actually be a little bit taller. But then again, the shoes can make the difference too. It's really hard to tell with shoes who the taller fighter is because of the different soles and everything on different brands of shoes. But on fight night, it really tells you how tall people are when they're wearing boxing shoes that are pretty much flat to your foot with only about maybe a 1/4 inch of rubber on the bottom. So that's how I see it. That's how I broke this down. I'm really interested. I made a video before clapping Shields for wanting to go into MMA. If she does it and she's successful, I don't want to see her stay there. It's one of them things where you get in there, you win the title, and you get the hell out. Just get out. Don't hang around to be beat. Don't do that. Get your one and done. Beat her, and if she wants a rematch, make her go to boxing then. And then for sure you're going to beat her. She's not going to outbox you. So that's how I see it. Let me know what y'all think. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down because all feedback is good. And please sub to the channel as it takes a lot of time and effort, again, to find time to do these videos. Thank y'all again.